What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another Arielfx video. And I did one of these videos a couple months ago, and I wanted to do it again because, it really bothers me that this industry is just filled and polluted with fake traders, fake gurus, and mentors who really don't even care about you or care about your success whatsoever. So in this video, I'm going to be doing yet another full audit of every single one of my trade ideas and pieces of analysis that was gone over and discussed with our VIP community throughout the entirety of November. All right, so I'm going to be hitting on every single piece of analysis and showing you the exact befores and afters of everything, and we're going to total up the total ROI at the very end and then present to you with that. So wanted to just show some transparency, something that really this industry lacks. And I wanted to be different, wanted to show you guys that if you are looking for a mentor who can really help you build these skills and even help you to earn money as you learn, well, then you have a friend. So, we are that team. We are the ones looking to really help those who want to help themselves. So I wanted to show you guys all of our trade ideas that have been sent over the past month and going through a full audit of them. I'm going to go into the chart and showing you our Discord channel so I can prove to you that these have been sent out, the befores and afters of all of them. All right, so what I'm going to do is, again, highlight all the trade ideas sent, but I'm not going to go over all of the analysis with it just because it would take hours and hours and hours to go through all of the trades since the start of November. So I'm just going to do a very quick breakdown of each one, maybe like a 10-second, 15-second breakdown, just so you can see what we were looking at, but so we can get through all of these trades. So guys, sit back. You're going to learn a lot here, and you're going to be able to see just all the trades that we are taking. And the best part about it is that not only is this providing transparency for you, but at the same time, it can help you to learn exactly what we're looking for just through seeing the stuff consistently. I always say repetition creates habit because it's so true. If you keep seeing the same piece of analysis over and over and over again, you're going to start seeing it in your everyday trading, and it's going to be just subconsciously ingrained in your brain. So I really like doing these videos because it really helps traders to learn as well. All right, so let's set a couple of ground rules first. What I'm going to be doing here to make things simple, and this is really what I do in my own trading as well. So what I'm going to do is, for all of the positions that are seen on the chart, if they have multiple positions, like we're going to see maybe 2 or 3 different positions within the same overall setup, then what we do is split up the risk on those multiple positions so it's not running full risk. Full risk to me is 1% per trade. So if it's just something like this is 2 pieces of analysis for the same setup. This is one expansionary move, and we're looking for pullbacks. This is one trade, this is one trade. So if price breaks and goes long, then obviously we wouldn't want to lose 2%, one on each. We want to do half and half. So that's what I mean by splitting up risk for the multiple positions. If it's just one position, then it's going to be the full risk at 1%. Hedged positions will be done at 1%. And half risk will be taken on scaled in trades from the same setup. So let's say this is a piece of analysis, right? And then we look to scale into this level. If we find an additional setup, we're going to be placing half risk on that just to keep it simple. And that's really what I do anyways. So I did all of the analysis starting from the 1st of November all the way down yesterday. So some of the trades or some of the price points are going to be a little different based upon my analysis yesterday, because obviously between yesterday and today, price has been moving, and we are either pushing in one direction or the other. So it's going to be a little bit off, but at the end of the day, I was actually going through all of them, and I was seeing that some of them were coming back down into drawdown, or not into drawdown, but just less profit. But then some of them were pushing more into profit. So the numbers here are going to be relatively the same. Some were pushing more into profit, some were pushing less. So it all evens out at the very end. So the numbers are directly accurate, and they're going to be calculated all the way down to the 0.1%. So we can get a very accurate measure of all the trades. Let's see what else I have here. I just wanted to make sure I get everything said before we get into this, if we have multiple TPs and we have, let's say we have one take profit, then we're going to calculate the full risk or the full reward on that. So let's say it's a 1 to 3. If it's one take profit, then we hit 3%. And obviously, if it doesn't hit take profit, then we'll calculate it as the loss. If we have 2 TPs, then we split it up 50-50, right? Half risk at one, half risk at the other, meaning we're still risking 1%, but we're taking partials 50% at the first take profit, 50% at the other one. Obviously, if it's three take profits, 33%, 33%, 33%. 4 take profits, you guys can do the math there. So hopefully all of my calculations are correct. Feel free to calculate alongside me. I'm going to be telling you all the numbers. Feel free to jot them down and make sure to hold me accountable at the very end as well. All right, guys, so let's get right into it. So let's first start off by talking about USD CAD. This is the first trade that we talked about. 7:30 in the morning, New York session on November 1st, 2022. So USD CAD, just as discussed. Now, this wasn't a before, this was an after, because we talked about this a few days earlier, but I'm not going to go into October. We talked about this, these two levels here. So I'm going to go to USD CAD very quickly on the charts and show you exactly what we were looking for. So USD CAD back during that time, and this was, let's see, October, November, these two opportunities were taken. So we're going to talk about all the other pieces of analysis as we go, so don't worry about it. We're going to get into all this as well. But the first one I'm talking about is here. Now, the reason why I have the risk to reward here, and this goes for all future analysis that you see in this video, it's not because the risk to reward was actually here. These are take profit regions. So we have, in this case, 2 TPs. We had one here and one at our overall level down here, because I saw to the left that there was nothing that price could really come into that would prevent it from going long besides this level here and then the overall take profit. We set our partial profits at levels in which price could reverse from us. That's why we can extrapolate so much money from this market without having to worry about taking profit too early or too late or whatever. Right, so in this case, 1.6% return. There were 2 TPs, so we took 50% partial of the first one, so we made 0.8% on this trade. All right, going back to the Discord channel, this one right in here, NZD USD, looking for longs from this area of interest. We also had other areas in here that we were looking for longs as well. So with NZD CAD, or that was NZD USD. Let's just go to the position here. And it was, and you just have to bear with me here, but we're going to be learning some stuff here. We can see that we had one position here. We had other ones down here that never were hit, but we're going to talk about these later on. We're just going to go through the list step by step. We will cover all of them. But right in here, what we were looking for was simply, a higher high, a higher low, and a higher high, pulling back into a level of demand. We actually reacted off of it, but never had the chance to move south to break even because we needed at least the previous swing point high to take partials. So we ended up losing that position there. So that's negative 1%. Okay, next one here, long setup. Hedge setup on US dollar Swiss franc. So we are looking to short our position here, and we're also looking to long our position here. Okay, so let's go to USD Swiss franc. Perfect. So right in here was the opportunity. We were breaking structure. We had a lower low, a lower high, a lower low, lower high. We failed to generate a lower low and made the higher high in comparison to this high. And we also kind of formed relatively equal highs, which indicates liquidity resting above. So this is the level of demand which we're looking to buy from. So we had 2 take profits. Actually, no, 3 take profits here. We had one at the previous swing point. Actually, it was really right in here. That was our first one because this was our last buy to sell volume. So it really was just above our prior swing point here. So when we pushed back down, pushed back up, we just saw that it should have been our first take profit. We had that last buy to sell a couple pips away from it. So that's where our first one was. The second one was above this high, and our third one was up here at our overall objective point. So in this case, we had 2.37%, and since we had 3 take profits, we had 33% taken out there. All right, so we can calculate that. I don't think I did that math correct. 33% of 2.37 is a little less than 1%. All right, so we'll adjust that as we go. So that is USD Swiss franc. Let's get back into right in here. Aussie dollar, US dollar, looking for overall shorts from a level of supply. So let's go to the chart here, Aussie dollar. Perfect. Right in here, a level of supply is what we were looking to take short. So this is more of a hedging position. We actually did make some money on this. We were really just looking to sell it down into our overall levels of demand in which we bought it from. And we'll talk about this trade later on. I'm just going to go in order here. So we had a level of supply. We made a lower low, so pulling back into that last buy to sell level of supply, we had more room to go to the downside, which is why I sold it from that level. We came back down, didn't touch our previous swing point, so we couldn't move stop to break even. Price came back up. Luckily, our stops were above that level, and then we fell all the way down. And then our first take profit was where we had our original, our secondary entry right in here. Price obviously didn't continue. So in this case, I think we had 3 take profits here. So 1.29% divided by 3, because 33% each, would be 0.4%. So plus 0.4% on that particular trade. All right, continuing, let's go to, and that was Aussie dollar. This level was discussed on Smart Money Sundays. As we can see, level was discussed Smart Money Sundays, still in short from our original level. So I'll talk about what's going on in here. So we sold it from our original level here, this black line, and then this tan box. We got in again. We talked about that on Smart Money Sundays as well on that prior day. So Aussie Swiss franc, let's go into that really fast. So the reason why I'm doing this, guys, I'm just trying to show you the transparency behind each and every trade. You know, some people and a lot of other traders who have groups and mentorships, they lie in regards to their overall return. They lie in regards to their overall analysis. You know, they don't post the ones that lose. They don't, you know, they only post the ones that win. And that's why they're able to pretty much scam a lot of people into thinking that they are good traders to sign up with their group. That is not my goal here whatsoever. My goal is to provide transparency and the peace of mind knowing that if you want to learn how to trade the right way, then there are people like me out there who can actually help you to do so, and people who are credible enough to be able to get you to where you need to be. So just wanted to point that out. You know, I'm very sick and tired of this industry filled with just people scamming. You know, a lot of people tried to join my group just to start their own signal service, which really ticks me off. So we catch every single one who does that, and they will be under lawsuit here very soon. You know, this is just not a game that we like to play. We really condemn people who and despise people who join our group to take the trades that we send out to then charge more for their own group to do the same thing and pretty much repackage our trades. It's really unprofessional, and it's just, this industry is filled with people like that. So we want it to be different, wanted to provide full transparency for what we do here at Arielfx to show you how the real way trading is supposed to be. So anyways, we were looking at this level here on the 2-hour time frame. It was a level of sponsorship, this buy to sell that came into a level of supply. We wanted to play off of this mitigation essentially. On a lower time frame, there was a level of interest right in here on a lower time frame. So that's why we had that additional position, pretty much a wick entry. So in this position here, we had 3 take profits on this one here. The first one was our previous swing point, so right in there. So that's why we had that. Our second one was the last sell to buy that failed to generate that lower low. So that was right in here. And then our overall take profit was somewhere down in here. All right, so that was 3 take profits, 1.16% divided by 3. That's what we would get. So that's 0.4 essentially. And then this one right in here, we had 2 take profits. One was this level here, this last selling volume, just like we discussed, and then the overall take profit down in here. See, the reason why we're taking partials at these levels is because these are the not highly probable levels that it will reverse from, but it gives us the highest chance to make money from this market, right? Because if we were waiting for, let's just say, a push down in here, which we essentially were, and price should have done that because we're making lower lows and lower highs all the way down because we're in a higher time frame downtrend, right? However, price could still reverse if the counter trend is still going to be validated. Now, we obviously know that higher time frames trump lower time frames, but sometimes the lower time frames do win because the higher time frames have an overall pullback, right? So the lower time frames continue, and that's where we just want to be smart, taking partials, securing partials. You know, you can't go broke securing partials, right? So doing it at probable levels, not probable levels like we knew that price was actually going to go long from here. We didn't know that. We fully assumed we were going to go short. You know, however, you know, it does what it does, and we have to move stop to break even just to be sure that just in case something like this happens, we're completely safe. All right, so in this case, we had 1 right in here and then the 1 down there, so 2 and 2. 1.32 divided by 2, because 50% at the first take profit. So we secured 50% of 1.32%. So essentially that's 0.6%. All right, if I get the math correct, I wrote this down from yesterday, so it may be a little off, but just bear with me here, guys. All right, so still looking pretty good. Having a slow start to the month so far. We are still in the first day, I believe. All right, let's keep going. Aussie dollar right in here. So we're looking for pullbacks after a break of structure. So we're going to go to the charts now and take a look at that. Let's go to Aussie dollar. And on the lower time frames, I believe it was right in here. On the lower time frame. Yep, that's exactly what happens. So in this case, we were using half risk because remember, this was our overall sell zone, and then this was the scaled in version of this, okay? So we missed the entry to begin with. We actually came right back up, and then we pushed right back up and hit our stop loss above the high. So in this case, this was a 0.5% loss. All right, let's keep going here. So that was the same thing. That was me telling you the initial miss of the first entry. It was unfortunate. Let's see, that was all daily market breakdown videos. Here we go. Potential. Get in again. Okay, so this level in here we'll actually talk about as a part of another trade. So I'm actually not going to get into this right now because it's going to be brought up here in a little bit. All right, let's continue. Let's see. Aussie, Swiss franc. Actually, I have it written down in step-by-step order, so I guess I will talk about this one right here. Let me see. Let me go to AUD/USD. So it was a sell that occurred in here. However, we wanted to touch base upon the hedging buy order because we came into a higher time frame demand here and we're forming higher highs, higher lows. We want to continue with this structure, even though the trend is still overall bearish, right? So which is why we were selling in here, because this high came into our last point of supply up in here. So that's why we took a sell, but obviously the counter trend, and this is what I said before, the counter trend can, continue to go as long as, the higher time frame is going to be broken, meaning we don't know if it's going to be broken, right? This is a high, this is a low, this is a previous high. This is lower time frame bullish trend, and we need to be continuing to trade with the trend until it breaks. Once it breaks, then we can continue to trade with the overall trend. But in this case, the higher time frame is bearish, the lower time frame is bullish. Why not continue to look to buy it? If it buys up and breaks structure, which it did, I'm in bar replay mode, but it did, then we can continue to trade. And obviously, if we're hedging, we're going to be losing at least one trade, but the aggregate positions would still be in profit. If I win on the sells, lose on the buys, those sells would outweigh the buys loss. Vice versa, if I won the buys, lost the sells, like we did here, then the buys would totally outweigh any sells losses, right? So in this case, we had a clear buy opportunity from this level. Stops were below this low, and we actually just missed our stop loss just by a fraction of a pip. I'm surprised I didn't get stopped out with a spread, but my MT4 showed that we were still in the trade, and we actually did make a move back to the upside. So we got really lucky there. This trade did hit for a 1 to 6.5. I'll just zoom back out, get out of bar replay mode here. So that was the original position, and we pushed all the way back to the upside, 0.68 to the T. All right, so continuing here, AUD Swiss franc, I think that was the next one. This was the play after the original entry. So we were looking to take a scaled in position from this level, Aussie dollar Swiss franc, and I believe that one was right in here, right? So we had the original entry here. We pushed up to that lower time frame level of supply within the higher time frame buy to sell. Remember I talked about that? And then we came into this one. We broke structure, but we ended up pushing back to the upside. So we did lose 1% on this trade here. Continuing here, this is Aussie dollar CAD. So we were in from hedge shorts and hedge longs, right? Because the higher time frame, again, when it's not in alignment with each other, higher and lower time frames, hedging is, definitely appropriate in that sense. So we hedged our shorts with long opportunities. So I'm going to talk about that right here. Let's go to Aussie CAD. Aussie CAD right in here. So that was the exact trade. Stops were below that low here. We did not hit our stop loss, and we ended up rallying. And our take profits were 88774. So that was a nice 1 to 3 risk reward. So plus 3% on that particular trade. All right, continuing. So USD Swiss franc. So this was the one we already talked about, I believe. And the reason why we only made 1.5%, I think, no, it was like a little less than 1% because we hit our first take profit. The reason why was because price didn't come up to our overall take profit, and it just missed my secondary take profit. It really, like, almost to the T missed it. So sometimes I get very lucky with my entries, that I get the fill. Sometimes I don't hit my stop loss to the T, but sometimes at the same time, when you have that kind of luck, it also can turn back around you and miss your second take profit to the T as well. So I only made 1/3 of that percentage that we already talked about before, and not 2/3 out of the 3 take profits, right? So anyways, that was that. That was just a recap. Continuing here, so this was when we were looking to hedge, right? So we had these hedge positions on New Zealand dollar, US dollar. Okay, so we were looking for original shorts on this, and then we were also looking for longs from our 3 levels. So we were hedging our position. So let's go to NZD USD and take a look at what's going on. So on a lower time frame, and I'm not going to scale into all these. It would just take too long. Essentially what we were looking to do was, this was distribution here. We had that huge last buy to sell, and we broke structure, right? So we were looking for just shallow pullbacks right into here. And then if we got a deeper pullback back up into this supply level right in there. So we had those 2 shorts from those 2 levels. Again, when we have multiple positions, we have to split up our risk. So 2 positions, half and half. So half risk here, half risk here. So we lost 0.5% on each of those. But then we ended up getting into our hedge position from here. We also had one obviously from here, and then one from down here, which obviously these 2 didn't hit. This one was the only one that hit, and we rallied to the upside. All right, so in this case, the NZD USD one was a nice 1 to 7.9. You can see that if I just zoom all the way out, we kept going all the way to 6,125, I believe was the overall take profit. So 1 to 7.9 there. That completely outweighs the 2 losses, right? Half and half, that's 1% total. 7.9 minus 1 is 6.9. Aggregate positions are still in profit, right? So that's how we can take advantage of that as well. So let's continue short here. Same thing goes with, I think, AUD USD and Euro USD. We're looking for the exact same things. And remember with AUD USD, we were in this position from this level here. In that position, we were waiting on this one down in here, which actually never hit. And then Euro USD, which I'll go over as well, we had a fake out of the head and shoulders here. I know you can't see it, but there's a shoulder, a head, and then another shoulder here. You can kind of see it right there. And we had the fake out, sell to buy. So that created that sell to buy flip from supply to demand, and also the mitigation. So we went long here, but we're looking to hedge our position short because we came into a higher time frame level. So when we came into a higher time frame level and started to reverse, the trend started to shift. So lower time frame sells, higher time frame buys. Since the higher and lower time frames were not in alignment with each other, we did hedge our positions. So let's take a look at both of those trades here and see what we did. So AUD USD was that first one, and we scroll all the way down to the bottom. And we talked about that one, right? I think we discussed that. It was very similar to NZD USD. It was right in here and then right in here. So this one and this one pull back into this supply level, and then that supply level higher time frame. And we lost 0.5%, but ended up winning 6.5 on this trade because we hit that overall level of demand. It took a hedge long, and that's obviously we can see us hitting that up there. So Euro USD is next, as discussed. So with Euro USD, and this shows a better picture. With the head and shoulders fake out, sell to buy, we made a higher high. So the market structure says high, really low, high, low, high. So where's the range? Here, because this is the low that generated this new high. So this is the overall pullback. So in this case, we were looking for shorting opportunities. It looks exactly like AU and NU, guys. Right in here and here, looking for continued sell-offs, but then the counter trend was broken to the upside, and we continued long with this overall trend. But we also got into our longs from here. So we lost half and half, so 0.5% loss there, so 1% total. And then we got into this position here at 6.34% return was seen on this trade. All right, so we had 1.0240 was our overall take profit on this one. We can see it hit right there on the 11th of November. All right, so you guys, just as a reminder, you guys can see all the dates here, all the dates and all the times with every single piece of analysis that I'm sending out. So this is not stuff that I am, going back and using bar replay to hide what price is doing or finessing the trades. I don't, even if I wanted to do that, I wouldn't even know how to do that. The dates and times are posted there. Even all my VIP members can attest to all these trades being sent. Continuing here, let's see. Dow Jones. Okay, so this was just one of the trades that we had. I don't think, I think that was probably one of the first times I've traded US 30 in over like a year. So we're not even going to get into it. And ended up working out actually from this position and this position here. We ended up pushing back and falling down from that level. I'm not going to count that as my overall profit just because that's not something we actively trade. We're actually going to get into the after photo here in a little bit, so you're going to see how this actually played out. But I'm not going to count it towards the overall percent return. GBP NZD, we were looking for pullbacks into supply. I'll just quickly show you what happened here. Now this one actually never hit GBP NZD. We can see that was our overall level, right? We were looking for pullbacks and price just continued to fall all the way down. All right, so we never got that entry, so there was no trade. Continuing here, US dollar, Canadian dollar. So remember, this area of supply we talked about on our first trade idea from the month, right? We had our crazy push to the downside, and then we never ended up following through. We actually had an overall pullback, and that's where we got into our secondary position here. So going into USD CAD, it was this position right up here. It was because we reacted off a higher time frame structure. We broke the counter trend. We failed to make a higher high and started making lower lows, lower highs, right? We actually formed liquidity. We ran it buy to sell. So that creates a huge sponsored move. And that's exactly why we had these two levels. For one, because it was lower low, lower high, lower low, I thought, maybe we'd pull back up into that level and make a lower low and just continue with the lower time frame trend. But if we have an overall pullback, then that would be a level in which I would look to take. So in this case, 1.38 was my level, stops above the high, and take profits were all the way down here at 1.321. I said on a live session that I was out 80% of my position from this particular trade. So 1 to 10.8, 80% of it, let's just call it 8%. 8% here on this trade right now. And we are still floating in profit. We are looking for further continuations to hit overall take profit there. All right, so that's USD CAD, huge trade right there. All right, sell position in profit. We had an initial reaction from that level that we just discussed on NZD USD. We were counteracting it with our hedge buys. Let's continue here. Same thing on AUD USD there. Alrighty, let's continue here. NU. So now we're getting into drawdown on our sells, and that is completely fine because we're hedging with longs. Right? If we don't know where the price is going and we have valid regions for sells and buys, we can hedge. It is actually a very nice tool to do and use. But don't think that every single position you take should be hedged. You should only hedge positions if the higher and lower time frames are not in conjunction with one another and that you have clear confluences for both the buys and the sells. If you don't, then there's no trade, or there may not be a hedge to begin with. So we got into that position there and we made a move back to the upside. All right. Let's continue here, and in this case, USD CAD. So remember when we got into that position as I just showed you. So I'm not going to go into the charts here because I literally just showed USD CAD. We also counteracted that with buys because we were continuing to make higher highs and higher lows. Higher highs, so we figured maybe we make a higher low and continue with a higher high since the higher time frame on USD CAD is technically bullish. So we entered in from this huge sell to buy. You can see the wick there that swept these equal lows. Sell to buy, and we had that demand there. We had an initial reaction, as you can see with that little green candle, if you can see that, and then we rolled over back to the downside. So we did lose 1% on this buy, but for the sells, we were in great profit. All right, so the next one. Okay, let's see. This one was Aussie dollar CAD. I think this was just an update. We're looking to counteract the buys with the shorts. So we talked about that earlier on AUD CAD. And then we can see AUD Chef got stopped out. So remember that was the one that I talked about how we got stopped out of that. That was the counter trend break of structure after the initial reactions. And then we ended up getting stopped out and before rallying short. We actually did come down short. However, we did take our stop above the high. So that's what we talked about earlier. Euro Swiss franc. So Euro Swiss franc here, we were looking for buys from a level of demand because this was just an overall pullback in the market before filling in balance. So let's go check out Euro Swiss franc. So Euro Swiss franc here, We had the initial reaction. Now, in this case, we had 3 take profits. The first one was above the previous swing point, which is right here. We actually put it a little bit higher because we had the imbalance right there. Second one was above our overall swing high, and the third one was somewhere up here in our higher time frame objective. So in this case, we only got to take partials one time, but we didn't lose. Every time we take our first partial, stops move to break even, so we don't lose that. All right, so in this case here, we got into our position 1.96% return divided by 3 because we had 3 take profits. So 33% at the first take profit, 33% at the second, and then 33% at the third, the overall. But we only hit one of them, so 1.9% divided by 3 would be 0.6%, just about. All right, so plus 0.6%, not too bad. Not too bad. Let's continue. And now GBP USD here, this one was a really good trade. So we were looking to potentially hedge at this level here, but we ended up not doing it because we had equal highs. So in this case, this was the only, I think, dollar-based pair that we didn't hedge, and we looked to just only long it from our region of demand. So let's go into GBP USD, take a look at what was happening. So very quickly, GBP USD was a phenomenal trade to say the least because it was a clear head and shoulders fake out. So this was a level of demand that we wanted price to come down into when price was trading in here. So I talked about this on a live session before, because if we look at the counter trend, there's a lower low, a lower high, a lower low, a lower high. We failed to make a lower low and instead made a higher high. So that will flip from supply to demand. So that's why we reacted off of this level to begin with. But we have to build liquidity prior to coming into the level. So we form the head and shoulders that faked out retail traders. They sell below the neckline, put their stops above the high, and then they move to the upside. We mitigate our demand and go long. That's how the institutions can manipulate price. So in the process, you do the same thing. Lower low, lower high, failed to make a lower low with this doji candle here, made the higher high. So that will turn from supply to demand again. So 1.12 is that psychological level. And that's exactly where we came down and hit. So we made a higher high, a higher low, a higher high, a higher low. So we had market structure, we had liquidity, we had retail fake outs, we had demand, we had imbalances. We had a lot of all of our smart money and supply and demand confluences to create an overall setup, which did play out very well. So stops had to go below the overall low, and this trade did hit very nicely for a 1 to 3.6%. 3.57, we'll round it up to 3.6. All right, so now let's continue going here. Euro USD, so just giving an update here, we're in drawdown on the sells, the hedge sells, and then we're in profit on the longs. Intraday trend sells in the beginning of the week stopped out. So in this case, I don't remember this. I think it was somewhere in here with this supply zone. We ended up trying to sell it from that level, and then it went long. I don't really remember. I don't have the risk reward tool here, so I'm just going to say negative 1%. I'm just going to be as transparent as possible, just in case we actually did take that. I think we did, so I'm going to say negative 1% there. Shorts in drawdown, yep, that's what we're doing across the board. AU, NU, GU, shorts were in drawdown, but all the longs were hedged, and we had huge risk rewards for them. That's just what we were doing. And this, okay, so this was the US 30 entry, and we can see how that played out there. So we're not going to count that because we don't really trade that pair that often. Next is Australian dollar, US dollar. So in this case, I think the next three, AU, EU, and GU, you can say AU here, EU here, and GU here. I'll just quickly go to them. We can see GU, this was the analysis here. We never hit this position to go long. NU, we never hit. There was a position right in here. I think it was right in here that we never came into. And then with Aussie dollar, you can see in here, this was the position, this black line right here. We can see we never hit it. So those did not hit. I'll just quickly go back over them. You can see we didn't hit that there. EU never hit that level, and then GU never hit its level here. We never pulled back, so there was just no trade. GBP NZD, in this case, we never really took a long from here just because this was a huge area of demand on the 4-hour time frame. This would have been a huge stop loss, not a good risk to reward. Would have been a higher time frame swing, and I just really don't like swinging. So I mentioned the fact that we could come into this level and have a reaction, but I never took that position. So continue here, USD CAD. And so these two positions, I guess I can talk about this really fast. We're going to come back to this one later as well, because this was another setup that we sent out a couple days ago at this position because it finally came back up. It didn't come back up immediately. We actually kept going short, and then just a few days ago we finally pushed back up with the news that occurred. All right, so we'll check out USD CAD now. All right, so with USD CAD, that's exactly what we're looking for, these two levels, right? So after our first initial short from that level at 1.38, we had these other levels of supply, this level of supply, and then a lower time frame level of supply right in here. So I know we're on the 1 hourly time frame, but if you go to the 15-minute, it looks a lot prettier. We can see we never got that initial pullback into those levels. We actually took quite a while for us to get back up in there, but we finally came back up into our first position. But remember, we're treating this as one trade, half risk and half risk, because there's two of them. So half risk here, and now we're currently floating in profit 1.6%. At the time that I did this, and I think I did it was last night, it was around here. So yeah, just about the same price. So not too much discrepancy between the numbers that I have from last night and where price is currently right now, if that makes sense. All right, so that was USD CAD. Let's go to the next one here. If we keep going, daily market breakdown video, and this one was Euro GBP. So going with Euro GBP, we're going to be talking about a few other positions with Euro GBP as we go, but I will just mention this one here, Euro GBP. This was more of a hedge position, and I think it was maybe the 3 hour, he said? Yeah, the 3 hour time frame. So we were looking to hedge our shorts from a lower time frame supply and then a lower time frame supply in here, which actually were in huge profit, and we'll talk about those later. We're in 3 of them, 1, 2, and 3. But we did look to hedge because the higher time frame was bearish, or excuse me, the higher time frame is bullish, lower time frame is still bearish. So we did look to hedge our positions from this level of demand. We had an initial reaction, but ended up falling back to the downside, so negative 1% on that trade. It's a video. All right, a lot of analysis here. So this one, Australian dollar, this one never hit. This was just an additional piece of analysis. Remember, we already talked about that. 6.3, something like that. That never did hit. And then this one right in here, Canadian dollar, Swiss franc. All right, so we'll talk about this one. Canadian dollar, Swiss franc. Was a really great trade. However, I did mention that we are higher time frame bearish. So the reason why we lost this trade was not because this setup was invalidated due to, the lack of the confluences. We just had come into an overall level of supply here. And I talked about this plenty of times. I know it's blurry, I'm just zoomed out, but we're making lower lows and lower highs. So this is a lower low and this is a lower high. This is where the distribution started here within this lower high, and that was our last buy to sell. And I said 0.74 we could come into before shorting, and that's exactly what happened. And now all of this counter trend, higher highs, higher lows, since we came into that level, we actually fell. And that's just what happens when you come into objective points. You naturally break structure most of the time. But I did take a chance here, and I did see that we cleared equal lows. We had a clear sell to buy, reprice, continue, higher high. So that was a level of demand. We came into it, had a reaction, but then ended up falling. So did lose 1% on that trade there. All right, continuing. Euro NZD. So looking at taking a short from this level of supply there. So let's go check it out. Euro NZD, and that's exactly what happened. So it took a short from that level of supply, as just talked about. Equal highs were run up into that level of supply, and we just fell down. So this was for a 1 to 5.25, and it took a little while, but it ended up trickling all the way down, hitting our overall take profit yesterday. I think, yes, yesterday, for 5.25%. It was a 1 to 5.25. Took profit at 1.65 psychological level. All right, so that was that. Euro GBP again. I'm just looking at my notes here. I think that's going to be the next one. Yep, right in here. So remember we talked about the hedge position. So we were looking for longs to hedge, but then we were also looking for shorts to hedge from here and here. Okay, so let's go to Euro GBP again. Take a look at it. So we did hedge our positions from that hourly time frame level of supply. You can see the liquidity. All that retail trend line was taken. Big buy to sell, pull back, failed to make a higher high. Why do I always say that? because we made a higher high, we've made a higher low, but we have not made another higher high. This push up never formed a higher high. We ended up stopping and making a lower low. So that is why that will flip from demand. This is demand in here. You can just go like that. We had a reaction off demand. We didn't make a higher high, made the lower low, so that's what flipped to supply. That's exactly why these levels, if you understand supply and demand, can be so powerful and you can make so much money from them, because it's just a very good confluence to have, supply and demand flips. So 881 is that level that we talked about. It took a little while, but ended up pushing all the way back to the downside. And at this current time, we are floating 3.2% on this trade, waiting for 0.85 to hit. All right, so that's that. All right, what's next? Euro USD. So remember, we didn't hit this position and never pulled back into it, but we ended up taking a counter trend hedge short from 1.0105. So that was because that was right in here. Yeah, it was 0105, which is this black line right here. We thought that if price was going to come up into that level, it would have the best chance of falling, because higher time frame, this was a lower low, this was a lower high, this was a lower low, this would have been a lower high. This is the entire range. Just because we made a high and a low and another higher high doesn't mean we're bullish. We ended up going long, yes, but this is just an overall pullback. This is just a mini uptrend within this overall pullback that we see. So this is still the range, lower low, lower high, which is why we were looking to take a short from that level here, because on a lower time frame, it was a huge imbalance that needed to be filled in the last buying volume before the sell-off. It's also the failure to create a higher high. High, low, high, low, high, low, failed to create a higher high, lower low. That turns to supply. All right, so ended up busting through that, so negative 1% on that trade. All right, let's keep going. This is CAD Swiss franc. This position here, so remember we lost on this position, but we wanted to hedge our positions short with this area of supply in here. So we had the reaction off the higher time frame supply. So we wanted this level of mini supply and then our overall level of supply here. So the reason why we took that position was not only because price came into a higher time frame level, but also because in here, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, failed to make a higher high. We broke structure, made the lower low. So we wanted that pullback, and in this case, that trade did not hit. All right, so that trade did not hit there, and we will continue to look. All right, next one. So let's see, CAD Chef. All right, that was what we just talked about. Euro NZD. Yes, Euro NZD, that was just an update. Euro GBP, this was just an update of where our sells were. Euro CAD. So Euro CAD, we were looking to sell from a level of supply. Let's go check it out. Where is it? Right there. So in this case, we were looking to sell from this level here. Now, why was this level valid? Because if we look at the counter trend, and I know it's blurry, I'll just zoom in a minute. We can see a higher high, low, high, low, high, low, high, low, high, low, failed to make a higher high, lower low in the market, right? So because of that failure to create a higher high here, this is what turns to supply. We ended up reacting off of it and then breaking and going to the upside. So we did lose 1% on this trade, and this was during the time when all of these pairs were reversing against us. Like, not against us, but against the overall direction of the market. So across the board, as we can see here, if I go to like the daily time frame, we're in a massive downtrend. We're in massive lower lows, lower highs. This is our prior high that created this low. We pulled back, we had a reaction, but now we're breaking structure higher time frame, which is why we're seeing all this stuff. So let's keep that in the back of our minds. If something like this occurred again, I would take this trade all day long. We can't get scared of when we lose a trade thinking that it's going to happen again. We have to keep attacking the market knowing that the concepts are true and the strategy is good. If we continue to do that and act as professionals and not act like children, we are going to make money and not lose money. All right, so that was a negative 1% loss there. And let's just keep going. GBP NZD. This was, I think that was just an update of the reaction from that level. let's see, GBP USD. So here was another trade that we took, 1.1350. This was the before picture. All right, we talked about that many times in our VIP. So let's go take a look at what's going on. So with GBP USD, this was the trade. And we were simply looking for reactions off of demand. So remember, we created this high and this low, and we had our first position from this level here. Okay, so we had that first position, and then we broke the counter trend structure, right? Not just the trend line. I'm just showing you because it's a break of the counter trend. We have to actually look at the swing points. So low, high, low, high, low, high, failed to make a lower low, higher high. We broke that structure there. So in this case, we just wanted to pull back down, fill the imbalance, come into that level of demand and go long, stops below the low, and then we hit just an easy trade for a nice 1 to 5.8 risk to reward. All right, so that's 5.8% return there. That is GBP USD. So next one is NZD USD. So we were looking at taking a couple of positions. So remember how we were originally in this one right in here, 577, right? We were looking at taking that one. We were in good profit. We made the higher high. Now we just want pullbacks. So for the higher low, we had two positions. One, and I'll just go to the chart now. One just in case we didn't have a deep pullback. In this case, we really didn't before shooting up. I was wanting these lower time frame levels in here, that level of demand and maybe that level of demand in here, if we had a deeper retracement, but we never did. We had a more shallow retracement, so I saw that there was a level of imbalance right there, so I took that trade. I put stop below this first demand level there. All right, so in this case, this was a nice 1 to 5.5. All the way up, hitting overall take profit. That was a beautiful trade. However, we didn't make 5.5% because remember what I said before, we had multiple positions. We had this one, and I think we had this one down in there. So that was 3 different positions, so 1/3 risk on each of them. Because if prices went like that, we would lose all 3. We don't want to lose 1%, 1%, and 1%. That would be 3% in one trade. That's not what we risk. We want to split it up. So 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3, that would be 1% total. And obviously we did win this trade. So 5.5 divided by 3 is 1.8. So 1.8% we did win on that trade there. All right, let's continue. GBP Swiss franc. So this one was actually sent out a couple of days before November, which is why it wasn't a part of the analysis. Because you can see November 1st is right in here. And then obviously the 30th, 29th, 28th were right in here. So we actually sent this out prior and it ended up hitting in early November. So we're going to talk about this one and this one here. So that's GBP Swiss franc. GBP Swiss franc was a beautiful trade. We were just looking for overall pullbacks, right? We made a higher high, a higher low, and a higher high. So yes, we are looking for higher time frame swing points to the upside. Or swings to the upside. However, we were counter trend bearish at the time and we found a beautiful setup. So, we were making lower lows, lower highs. So I kind of considered this to be in an overall pullback phase. In this overall pullback phase, I wanted it to lead to our original area of demand, which is here. So any trade that occurs for pullback short prior to coming into here are valid. We haven't reached this level yet, right? There's still more room to go to the downside upon a pullback. Finally, when we came into it, we won't look for sells anymore because now we got to turn it to buys, right? So that's just how market structure works. So we had a beautiful trade here for a 1 to 5.23 and then another one here for a 1 to 2.8 off of this last buy to sell into supply there, okay, which was shown and depicted in this before picture. All right, so that's that. Then we have Euro NZD. So this was the reaction in the lower time frame trade. So this is going to be on half risk because this is a scaled in trade off of a level of supply. So let's just go to that now on the chart. And that was right in here. Remember we talked about that. We had our original sell from the supply level and then lower time frame. If we scale into it, we can see that we had a break of structure. See a higher high, a higher low, a higher high, a lower low. So we wanted the overall pullback back up into a level of supply, which is right in here, and this last buy to sell. So we had 2 positions, so obviously half risk and half risk. So half risk there, and we ended up hitting overall take profit. So that since that was half risk, we made half of 4.4, which is 2.2%. Continuing here, this was a nice reaction from our NZD/USD level. And this is why news is just used as the excuse to move price in the overall direction it was meant to go. Maybe not in the overall direction the trend is going. Maybe it's used as the excuse to sweep liquidity on the opposite side of the market before continuing in the overall direction. My point being, the news is already pre-planned. The news volatility is not random. It is not random. It is pre-planned. It was already meant to do it anyways, right? So that was that. That was a beautiful trade. This is British pound US dollars. This was just an update of what we were looking at here. And I think Aiden talked about, Aiden talked about this Euro USD position that we took. This was on a Friday, I believe, a Thursday or a Friday before the news. And we came into this lower time frame level of demand, and then we shot up. I think he talked about it on one of his last night's daily market breakdown video from that day. So let's just quickly go and check up on it so we can see what it looks like. All right. So right in here, I think it was right here, the hourly. Yep, it was that level of demand. And what's great about it was also another head and shoulders fake out as well. Sell to buy. We had a beautiful entry there. Stops below the low, and we brought us up to 1.0240, so it was a nice 1 to 12. 1 to 12.1 risk to reward. This was a phenomenal trade that was taken. Congratulations to all who caught it. The next one as well was a phenomenal trade. He sent this one out as well. US dollar Swiss franc. This big buy to sell, pull back into that level of supply, and we fell all the way down. Take profits. We're at 0.95, I believe. Swiss franc. I think there'll be more update pictures in the Discord as we go, so I'll just confirm it's 0.95, but I believe it is. I have it on my chart, so I'm guessing that's right. Big buy to sell, that was the entry, 1 to 9.95, so about 1 to 10 risk to reward right there. So just in those two trades alone, you could have passed 2 prop firm challenges. Isn't that funny? So, all right, continuing to move on here. USD Swiss francs, that was just the lower time frame entry. It was not a scaled in entry, it's just showing you the lower time frames. Euro NZD reacting very nicely from that level, shorting off, and in that sense, I think we were at 30% on that particular week so far. So that was an awesome week. GBP Chef, additional position in profit. We already took a look at that. AUD CAD, the counter trend buys that we talked about earlier in profit. So that's looking really good. Let's see, continuing. Aussie dollar, Swiss franc. So we had a bunch of Aussie dollar, Swiss franc setups. So with Aussie dollar, Swiss franc, we just had tons of trades. So I'm going to try to go over all of them here. And I think we already talked about these two. We had the loss that occurred in here. Now let's go over these two here. So this was because of the fact that we failed to create a higher high and made a lower low. We broke the structure. So my 2 levels in this case were the overall buy to sell and then the lower time frame level of supply in there. So that's why we had those 2 levels. You can see that those 2 black horizontal lines lines up with this. So the first take profit, we had 3 take profits on these. So half risk and half risk. So we're already splitting it in half to begin with. And then 3 take profits, we split those half risk positions into 3 more, meaning 0.5 divided by 3 because we had 3 take profits. And we only hit the first one, which is that previous low. So with these two, 1.76 divided by 2 because half risk, and then divide that by 3 is 0.3%. This one, 1.27 divided by 2 because it's half risk, and then divide that by 3 because we only hit the first take profit because there were 3 of them. That's 0.2. So collectively, we only made a 0.5% total on these 2 trades. All right, next. Euro CAD, just showing you that loss that happened there. Euro USD. So remember we were looking to hedge those positions from 1.0105 as I described earlier. This was earlier in the video. Talked about why we were hedging our buys with shorts. That was a loss there. And then let's see, Euro NZD in phenomenal profit. We can see that entry that we talked about earlier. Let's see, Aussie dollar Swiss franc. That was an update in profit there. Aussie dollar CAD hit overall take profit, just showing you an update with that one. US dollar Swiss franc, yes, 0.95 was the overall take profit. Okay, so that was a 1 to 10. Beautiful, beautiful trade. NZD USD in phenomenal profit. I think this one hit overall take profit as well. Yep, hit overall take profit. GBP USD hit overall take profit. I mean, we were just smacking take profits left and right here. Let's see. Your GBP NZD talked about a short. Okay, that was it, guys. Okay, my mistake. I was thinking that was another trade. Let me go back up to it. I think it was. Yeah, it was right here. GBP NZD. Okay, I thought it was USD Swiss franc. It just looks so similar, as you can see. So he was looking to short it from this level of supply. He talked about it on a video, I believe, that from the level discussed. Yep. So that was what that was. Okay. So GBP NZD at the moment of doing the analysis here. Let me see where that was. GBP Swiss franc, GBP NZD. Okay, so we were in a little bit of profit there on that one. I think it was 2.3% in total. Yeah, 2.3% I have written down. Okay, cool. GBP Swiss franc in profit. That one was a phenomenal one. Euro USD hit overall take profit. We can see from our longs down in here. We were looking for pullbacks, which I think we'll talk about in a minute with this trade. Obviously, we still haven't come down to hit it yet. Price is still pushing up to this day, but we'll see. Our EJ entry finally hit. So this was our original EJ entry. So I don't think I talked about this yet. Euro JPY, original entry from this level down in here. Let me just go to the 4 hour. You can see that level that we had a reaction from, and then we pushed down. We're in a little bit of drawdown right now. It may hit overall stop loss. That's completely fine. Oh well. We'll talk about another trade that we did make money on though. Anyway, so let's just call it negative 1%. Euro GBP still holding. It's just an update. Alrighty, so this one right in here, for the sake of time, you guys can go fact check me all you want, please do, but I'm not going to keep showing the ones that don't hit, meaning it, like this one never pulled back into the level, so just to save some time, I'm not going to show you that. You guys can go and check it out. You can see the date here, you can see the pair, you can see the time frame, you can see the level and the price, so you guys can please go fact check me there if you think that I'm making this up. So anyways, that one did not hit. Euro USD, just like I said, these two did not hit yet. We're still trading way up here to this day. Euro JPY, we were looking for additional positions from these two levels, so we still haven't hit these levels. This was just a lower time frame area of demand. If we have an overall pullback, then yes, I will be looking to buy from these two levels. So as a matter of fact, they haven't come down to hit these two levels yet, so these are actually still valid. All right, let's continue. Euro GBP, just giving updates on that. I'm looking for those entries. I already talked about those. Euro NZD, looking for continuation short. That was off of our original entry here and that lower time frame entry here. British pound Canadian dollar, I think I had two pieces of analysis on this by accident. This one obviously never hit. I just said that. USD JPY. So this one right here, we were looking for continuation just off of this last 4 hour buy to sell supply zone candlestick. So let's go to USD JPY now, and we can see, oh, we finally hit take profit. So that was this candlestick we were talking about, buy to sell into supply. We swept these equal highs, so swept that liquidity there into that level. Stops were above the high. Obviously, we did not hit that, and then we rolled over to the downside and hit our overall take profit for a nice 1 to 3.37. All right, so that's that. Let's go on to the next one, AUD USD. So this was just a lower time frame trade, really just an intraday trade to say the least. So we're just looking for intraday continuations to the upside upon a pullback into this level of demand. So let's go to Aussie dollar and check that one out. And that was right in here. Really, this was the entire trade. So entry from this level of demand, pulled back into it very nicely. Take profit was 0.678, 1 to 2.86 risk to reward. That was a beautiful trade. Euro GBP, looking for short. So this is an additional position off of an original level. So I'll just talk about it. I'll just go to it. You saw the Discord markup, the before picture. So with Euro GBP, let's go into over here. Perfect. So with Euro GBP, we are looking for continuations to the downside. So remember we had in our original short from this blue box. Now within this counter trend, we can see a higher high, a higher low, a higher high, a higher low, a failure to make a higher high, and the lower low. We closed below structure. So that will turn into supply, which is why we had that level there. That was a beautiful trade that we took, and it ended up hitting its take profit for just a quick 1 to 2.5. So 2.5% return there. All right, let's continue. That was that. Euro, Swiss franc. I'm not sure if I provided this analysis for this one, but if you took it, congrats. So I'm not sure if I did at that time, so I'm not even going to count it. Let's see. Euro, NZD. So this was an additional position on Euro, NZD here. I was looking for continuations. We can see we had the first entry, the second entry, and then we had this level of supply right in here. That was the level we were talking about, which is that black line. And we ended up sweeping all the liquidity that was resting above these highs for an overall pullback before we fell again. So sometimes that will happen. Sometimes, you can look to do that. You can look for the overall pullback, but you really need to just continue to look to trade with the trend. Trade with the trend. You would fully expect that to occur. If it doesn't, fine, you lose. Then great. You can see the huge buy to sell, and you can take it off the pullback mitigation continuation, right? And that's exactly what happened over here. Obviously, we never got the fill. I'll talk about that later, but that's what we were looking for. So anyways, negative 1% loss on that one. Euro Australian dollar. So Euro AUD. Let's see. Euro AUD. We had two positions here on this one. So we had, in this case, an area of supply here, lower time frame, stops above the high in this one, and then another one because we had a pullback and a lower low again. So I figured maybe we just continue with the lower time frame and go like that. So took a trade from the open of that supply zone, which swept all of this liquidity here, descending, and then we ended up just continuing to rally up, right? So we ended up getting stopped out of our first position, which was right in here, but we're in, let's see, a tiny bit of profit here. I think about 0.5% in profit from our overall position right in here. Okay, so that's that. Let's see. I think the next one is, Swiss franc, Japanese yen. So this is the trade the before. So we are looking for continuations long here, and we ended up coming down and hitting stop loss. My overall bias here was long because we swept liquidity, all this huge ascending trend line. We're in a huge uptrend, higher time frame. We had a clear sell to buy, and on the lower time frames within this huge sell to buy, we had imbalance in lower time frames demand. We just ended up continuing. The yen is really strong at the moment, so negative 1% on that trade because half risk and half risk there. All right, next one. This was just this was a new AUD chef position. So we're looking for further continuations. I tell you, we had so many different trades on AUD Swiss franc. I know it looks like crazy, like crap, guys, but just bear with me here. So essentially what this was right in here, we had one position from this level, that supply level, so we extend that over here, which is the entry. And then on the 15-minute time frame, we had a lower time frame level of supply, which is why we had this black horizontal line. So obviously we lost on the first one, which was a 0.5% loss because we had two positions, so half and half. So 0.5% was lost there. And then this one right in here, first take profit was down at the previous swing point. Obviously, we can see we never hit that. So yes, we did get into really good profit at the moment, but then rallied right back up, came back down again, and then finally rallied to the upside. So we actually lost that one. So negative 1% in total with those two positions. That was just another screenshot. EG reacting off supply. So we already knew this went short. We already discussed this. It was just an update at the time. Aussie dollar, Swiss francs. That was just the update before it ended up stopping before going long again. Let's see, another potential position. So we were in a lot of positions on AUD Swiss franc. A lot of them got stopped out at break even, but some of them did hit stop loss. So for this one did not because, well, we hit break even after securing partials. So we can see just lower time frame, and I believe, what was this one? Let me go back to it really quick. This may have been a different one. Trying to remember what this was again. Aussie dollar, Swiss franc. Oh, it was right in here because we had the reaction from those two levels, and then we made a lower low, lower high, lower low. I was just trying to play off the lower time frames here. Wasn't the best trade, and we ended up pushing right up through. So in that case, yeah, that one was a negative 1% loss there. The Swiss franc and Japanese yen pairs really did screw me over during November, but we did have some really, really good trades as well. CAD-J, this one was a little bit tricky because I personally moved stop to break even after taking partials on this one, but because it's not following my rule that I went over in the beginning of the video about moving stop to break even after the previous swing point was taken out, I'm not going to count it as a win. I'm going to count it as a loss. So let me go over, what was it, CAD-J, it was right in here, right? So you can see that this was the big, huge buy to sell that actually came up into this imbalance. You can see that that's the imbalance. We tapped into it, sweeping all that liquidity, had a big buy to sell, and the pullback back up into the level, trickling back up, and then finally back into profit. It did just meet my level. I did take partials, but since it was so close, it technically didn't take it out. I actually took my partials manually in that case because it was just floating around that level. I'm not going to count it as a win. I'll just say it was a negative 1% loss because it ended up pushing right back to the upside. Okay. Aussie dollar, US dollar. So this one was a really good trade. However, it never had the follow through to begin with. So we're looking for shorts there on AUD USD. And it was right in here, I believe. Yeah, right here. So with this one, we came up into a higher time frame level. That's why on our original buy order, we took partials, or took profit pretty much instantaneously. Sorry, I can't get my words out today. So this is only a 1 to 2.86. We ended up rolling over to the downside, so we can see the structure was clearly broken, and that was our last buy to sell. And in the process, we swept those highs, right, with that wick. So that was a liquidity run, and we made a lower low. So pull back into that level. We actually came up with just a tad bit higher, maybe up into a lower time frame level of supply in here before rallying to the downside. And in this case, I believe I had two take profits. One was at the previous low, and then one was at our overall objective. So in this case, half of our position was taken at the first take profit since we had two. So in this case, 1.18, and half of that was 0.5, or pretty much 0.6. So 0.6% on that trade right there. NZD USD, very similar situation with NZD USD. And in this case, I believe NU actually lost, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it was right here. We go to the hourly, and that was that, right? It was very similar to AU. We had a little bit of a reaction here off of this huge buy to sell pullback, and it just kept rallying to the upside. We never got the follow through down. All right, so that was negative 1%. Let's see, New Zealand dollar, Swiss franc. So we're looking for additional positions here. We had a reaction off level of demand, equal lows or snags, sell to buy, wanting the pullback for continuations. These two positions did not hit. We never pulled back into that level. Let's see, British pound, Swiss franc. We're looking for buys off of this area of demand. This one, or these two, really did not hit at all. We never pulled back. It just, price kept going. All right. GBP JPY. So GJ at the time was, we came into this level of demand. Let's see, let's go to GJ. And I think we ended up breaking even on this trade. I actually lost on the re-entry. So we can see the re-entry was right in here. I did lose on that, just completely swept it, but we had the original reaction and pushed up and hit my first take profit, moved stop to break even after the break of counter trend structure here. You see low, high, low, high, low, high, low, sell to buy, higher, high. So that was an immediate signal to me that we were break even and partials were secured once we reached the top. So we can see that reaction, boom, and then we pushed back to the downside. So unfortunate, but did make a little bit of money off of that one. Tiny bit though. This is US dollar, Japanese yen. So this one, we won on this trade. We had a hedge position essentially. So we already talked about the buys that hit for 1 to 3.37, but we were hedging the sells that reached 1 to 3.37, but we were hedging that with our buys. So we can see in here clearly that we came into a higher time frame level. right? So that's a good sign. We made a high. We failed to make a lower low, higher high. We never pulled back here into this level of sponsorship. We can see that the selling volume that swept liquidity before the move to the upside. So we ended up making that higher high. I wanted to pull back into that level. We had the initial reaction, but we ended up rolling over. So our sells won and our buys lost. So we're going to put negative 1% for that particular buy order. And Euro AUD, that was just an update. CAD-J, that was just an update. Aussie dollar, US dollar, that was just an update. Again, CAD-J, further update. GBP NZD, I quite frankly don't really know what he was talking about. I didn't post that one. I'll go to GBP NZD. It was this trade right in here. I guess we were in a little bit of profit. I guess it rolled over, but I don't really know what he was looking for. So I can't really help out with it. I was trying to figure it out. I couldn't. There was just equal lows. I don't know why that level was taken to begin with, but I'll just count it as negative 1% since it was sent out. Euro NZD. So remember, this was the trade that we were looking for to begin with, right? Remember, we had the break out of our initial position here. We sold it, and then it had the overall buy to sell that swept liquidity. And so when we made the lower low, we were waiting for an overall pullback into supply to short it, and we just missed it. So that one did not hit. AUD Swiss franc, that was another position. In this case, we actually made a little bit of money from it. This is why it's really good to take partials when you can. Because we can see here, this last buy to sell before breaking structure, we pulled back very nicely. And then our first take profit was met here. We had 3 take profits. One was here below the previous swing point. One was at our original level below this low. And then our overall objective down here at 0.61. So in this case, 1.76 divided by 3, because there's 3 take profits, that was just about 0.5% in that particular case. So we're going to continue here. Aussie dollar, US dollar, that was just an update. Schematic forming, talked about these 2 levels. I didn't formally call this level out, even though we did react very nicely from it. I'll just go and show you really fast. Let's see. Let's go to the 10-minute. It was right here. I called out this level and this level. We had that re-entry, but I didn't formally call it out. I talked about it briefly, but I didn't actually send a trade idea on it, so I'm not going to count it. AU, same deal. A chef, that was just an update. Euro JPY. So this one, we talked about this level of demand, which is this blue box. We also talked about the imbalance, which is this black line, just in case we ended up going long, which we actually did have a wick entry at that time. Let's go to it now, which was right in here, right in there. And we hit our first take profit at the previous swing point. Did not hit our second take profit, which is that previous swing point. So in this case, there were 3 take profits actually. 1.24 divided by 3, since there's 3 TPs, which is 0.4% that was made on that trade. Alrighty, AUD JPY, we never came up and hit those levels. Let's see, hedge short. So this was a position that we were looking to hedge our longs and shorts. It would take a while for me to discuss exactly what's going on here. So for a brief explanation, the structure is bullish, higher time frame, lower time frame. This push up, like all these higher highs and higher lows to the upside, failed to make a higher high compared to a previous swing point to the left. We actually made a lower low. So that's why I was looking to hedge our position short when we came into this level here, because I didn't see this at the time. I saw the reaction and the distribution that was in here. So I said, if we consolidate and break, I'm looking for pullbacks to short that. But at the same time, this is a higher high in the lower time frame trend. This is a higher low that came into a demand, which is this blue box. And then we made a high and we pulled back into that level, creating this demand here. So I wanted to buy and sell. So I had confluence to do all 2 of them. So let's go to GBP USD. let's see. So that was this. Very brief explanation. That was demand, perfect, supply, lost. So we lost on the supply when we sold it, price consolidated, and then mooned. And then we were in our buys, so this was a 1 to 6.32 risk to reward there. All right, that was an awesome trade. This is NZD Swiss franc. So we talked about these three levels for buys. So now let's go into NZD Swiss franc and talk about what's going on. So the reason why we wanted to buy it from, so this blue box here, there was one down here, which is now invalidated because price is all the way up here now. But there was another one on a lower time frame. Let me just get into it. Like right in here, this black line. The reason for that is because we failed to come into this level and we broke the counter trend. High, low, high, low, high. We failed to make a lower low, higher high. We broke the counter trend, so I figured, okay, we may just pull back and then go long like that to make the higher high, higher low, higher high sequence. But we ended up actually having that overall pullback and finally coming back down into it. So we took that on 3rd% risk. So we lost 33% here, or excuse me, 0.33% here, 33% of 1%. We lost it on that one, and then we made 1/3% risk here. So that was, let's see, 3.45. So that's 1.1%, because 3.45 divided by 1/3 risk that we had on this one, because there was 3 positions, 1, 2, and 3, is 1.1%. All right, let's continue. USD CAD, I think he sent that one out. We were in a little bit of profit. Then he said he's moving to break even. Yep, go break even. Another one discussed, this was Euro Swiss franc. So this is a very good trade as well. And it was right in here. So higher time frame, we're in an uptrend, right? Higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. We mitigated our prior swing point, and then we had a clear sell to buy. This sell to buy swept these equal lows. Sell to buy, repriced, continued. Essentially what a repricing is when you sweep equal lows or sweep some form of liquidity, and then you push up very strongly and you retrace slightly and then continue, that turns into demand. And that's exactly what we came into. So that was a very nice trade. We currently still are in this trade. We're floating around, I think, 1%, probably a little more at this time. Probably a little more. So that was Euro Swiss franc there. NCD Swiss franc, yeah, we said it ran lower, so we lost this position, but won this position. That was just an update. Aussie dollar Swiss franc. So this one was a lower time frame opportunity. This was right in here. We can see here that we swept all this liquidity. Big buy to sell, and then this was our last buying volume to sell in here. So that's where our entry was. First take profit was at the previous swing point, and then we obviously rallied back to the upside. In this case, there were, I think there were 3 take profits here. So 1.32% divided by 3 is 0.4%. Just about. Yeah, that was just the update. US dollar CAD. In this case, this one was a break-even trade. He went break-even very quickly, and I think that he said it. Yep, I'm out of USD CAD break-even right there. Okay, so I won't even go into it. It's not worth talking about. Additional position on NZD Swiss franc. So this one right here is 0.5850. It was a very good trade. Let me find it. There it is. So when we push down into our level here, remember we failed to come into this demand initially. We actually created ascending liquidity, and then we had this crazy huge sell to buy, and the mitigation was right in there at 5,850. So we sold to buy, we made a higher high, we pulled back, made a higher low, mitigated the sponsored move, and then we went long from that level. Beautiful entry there, and that hit for a 1 to 3.33. So 3.33% return on that trade. NZD JPY, it was the same thing as NZD CAD. However, or excuse me, NZD Chef. So NZD Chef played out. Unfortunately, NZD JPY did not. And that was the trade right in here. We swept all of this liquidity, equal lows, sell to buy. We pulled back to mitigate, had a reaction, but then just busted right through. So unfortunately, that was a 1% loss right there. All right, moving on. Let's see what we have down here. Aussie dollar, no, Euro AUD. Let's look at this one. So Euro AUD, this one actually busted right through. So remember, we were in shorts from this level, and then we came up into this level of supply because we created high, low, high, low, high, low, failed to make a higher high, lower low. It was just a very choppy pair. I didn't really like Euro AUD. It's really not the best pair to trade. Ended up rallying to the upside after we thought we were going to get the reaction from that level. So that was a 1% loss right there. EuroCAD never hit. It's still trading to the upside. It never pulled back into that level. All right, let's see. Euro USD. So we had a lot of crazy interactions with Euro USD within that area. And we can see those two areas of interest, which are right there and right here, as depicted in that Discord. We had the first reaction, hit our first take profit, but we just rallied right back to the downside, hit us out, break even. So we had, I believe, 3 take profits on this one. So 1.94 divided by 3. What is that? See, I'm trying to look at my notes here because I wrote all this stuff down yesterday. I can't really do my own math in my head. But anyways, had a 1/3 of 1.94. You guys can do the math. That's essentially what we made. And then this one right in here, our bottom one, is in profit a really, really good amount, about 3.2%. So you guys can see that, even if you lose a couple trades in a row, which happens to some traders on occasion, then you hit something like this, and it hasn't even hit overall take profit. It's just floating in 3.2% profit. Even if you closed it right now, which I'm not going to, but even if you did, it would literally take care of 3 losses. So 3 losses and then 1 good trade can make up for it. So that's why you guys don't be nervous about losing trades if you have all your confluences and rules met, right? Because then you'll turn around and win a big trade and take all those losses away. All right, moving on. USD CAD. So this one right in here, we're looking for shorts from a lower time frame level of supply. That was right here. Because remember, we had the reaction from that level Aiden talked about, where he said he went break even, right? That level one here. And then we swept liquidity, lower low, pulled back, and again, lower low. Very weird analysis in here. Essentially, this was an area of demand. We made a higher high from. We pulled back. We failed to make a higher high and a lower low. Just a lower time frame institutional formation. We came into a level of demand, and that's why we ended up actually rising. We busted right through this level in here. Okay, so this was supply. We were trying to short it, but it ended up rallying, so we did lose 1% on that trade there. All right, let's continue. Let's see. Swiss franc, Japanese yen, we've already talked about that one. CAD-J, we've already talked about that one. And Euro Japanese yen, we talked about that. Remember, that was the demand, and then the original position here with the black horizontal line that we hit our first overall take profit, but not the second one. Talked about that one. And then Euro Swiss franc, this was just an update of this trade that's in profit. Let's see the next one here, New Zealand dollar, Swiss franc. This was just a piece of analysis. Remember, we talked about that. That was the sell to buy off of our initial level that we wanted price to come into. We knew it did. It actually did, 5,850. I'll just quickly show you again. 5,850 was right in here. That was when we were taking the screenshot about when price was up here. So price pulled back into our level perfectly and then hit our overall take profit at 0.5950. All right, let's continue. And USD CAD, that was just an update. GU longs from that level in which we talked about. Remember, we hedged the shorts right in here with the buys from that demand. We were in profit there at that moment. AUD USD, we talked about that level here. We were in profit, or the price is now all the way up here now. Remember, this was This was this trade right here, right? Reaction, didn't make a higher high yet, so couldn't move stop to break even or take partials. We came down, just missed our stop, and then rallied. So when we broke the previous swing point, now we could move our stops, and now we could just rally up to the upside. Let's see. Chef JPY loss. Yeah, we talked about the loss that occurred there on that one. EU, massive profit right now. Again, this was just a piece of an update from our piece of analysis earlier. Didn't call this one out, but it ended up moving in the right direction, so I can't count that one. Euro Swiss franc. So Euro Swiss franc and AED Swiss franc was really... it didn't really do me well here because I was looking to buy eChef and then looking to sell aChef, and then with eChef, it was right in here actually. It was an area of demand that I bought it from. It had a reaction, but ended up pushing to the downside. So lost that one, and then aChef. Really, this was our last point of return. It was failure to make a higher high, lower low. There was a gap in here that needed to be filled, and then the imbalance right there. And we lost that one, half and half, which is 1%. So that's that. Let's continue here. Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar, looking for shorts from a supply level. All right, let's go look at that off of a distribution. Oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So this was the trade idea that we took. Let me go to the 30-minute actually. So we had a high, we made a low, we had an overall pullback. We did not take out this high, so it's still technically bearish. We had distribution, and then this was our last buying volume before the lower low was formed, so we wanted to pull back up into it, stops above the overall high, and we can see we just missed it very nicely. We're looking for an additional position, but didn't quite get the fill before rallying to the downside. So, oh well, you know, that's still up, I think, let's see, at this current time, we are up 3.5%. So still a very good trade there. 3.5%, I mean, I'll take that all day, any day. Continuing, Euro AUD, that was very similar to the Euro Chef situation. It kind of just chopped around, taking buy and sell side liquidity, so I did lose on that one. Euro NZD, remember, never hit. It actually stopped right there and then started to fall, so it never hit that trade. AED Chef, talked about that one. I actually just went over that one. What about this one? New Zealand dollar, Swiss francs. Remember, we talked about this one right here. Remember the re-entry that we had off our additional level? We had the sell to buy and the mitigation from 5,850. We went long from that. So that played out very nicely. Reaction from Euro GBP. So this was another one we talked about. Saturday's live session. At that current time, we talked about that level. So let's go to Euro GBP. And this was just an additional position. So remember we had our two shorts, one from this level here, which is this risk reward, and then another one from that level here, which we talked about earlier. And then we're just continuing to wait for more additional setups. We're overall bearish here. We swept all this liquidity, huge buy to sell, and where the influx of liquidity started was right there. So that's where we had that entry, and it was a perfect entry to say the least. And I believe we are up pretty good on it right now. I think, let's see, it's about 2.4% that we're up on this trade. So very good. Looking for further continuations, short. All right, let's continue. So that was what we just talked about in Euro AUD that I lost from. Aussie dollar, US dollars is just an update of what we just talked about. Remember we discussed there are buys from this level of demand here on Aussie dollar. There we go. New Zealand dollar, Swiss franc, the reaction from 5,850 as discussed, back to the upside, which hit overall take profit. This was Euro Swiss franc that we talked about that ended up losing, kind of just chopped around, ended up falling. So that's negative 1% there. And then we talked about the loss that we had on AED Swiss franc that ended up pushing right back to the upside. And then GJ, that we already discussed. Let's see what else. GBP USD. So this one, I didn't take this trade. I talked about it on the Saturday live session and the daily market breakdown video that we have in VIP. I talked about it, but I never took it. And it actually went into profit pretty good. We'll actually get back into that. There's one that goes off of this piece of analysis later, and we'll go over that one. Euro GBP, again, just an update and good profit there. Gold, we didn't take this trade, but that would have been a perfect opportunity. I think Aiden just said this was a really clean textbook trade here on gold. Never took it, but it would have been awesome. And that was just an update with the Euro AUD. Remember that position that we talked about? Euro NZD obviously never hit. USD CAD, we were looking for buys from now. This was our previous selling level. Remember we talked about this, that that buy to sell that we looked to sell from. We had the reaction, we made the higher high. So now that will flip to demand. So we are looking for pullbacks and never hit it. But if I go and show you what happened today, actually, we are still hedging our positions, and now we're in a little profit on our hedge longs right now. So about maybe like 0.75% in profit, something like that. All right. Let's see. New Zealand dollar, Swiss franc. This one never hit. This one actually just trickled and trickled and trickled up. Never came back down to that level. And that was the other Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar trade that we talked about earlier. Remember, we were in profit on this one, as just discussed, but it just missed our secondary level by a few pips, so we didn't get triggered there, unfortunately. And then with AUD CAD and NZD CAD. So we're looking for buys from two levels of demand on AUD CAD, so half risk, and then the same thing for NZD CAD, half risk here. So NZD CAD actually never hit. We can see that we just missed, but AUD CAD did. We had a phenomenal trade here. So got the wick entry, and we ended up, we just missed. So we just missed our take profit, but we're currently floating 2.5% in profit, aiming for an overall 1 to 3.4. So in really good profit there, looking for additional positions from this level of demand. All right, continuing on here. Let's go to the next one. So we talked about ACAD and NCAD that was sent out. And then our hedge positions from these two levels. So we were looking to buy from this level of demand and then the original level of demand we talked about earlier with that trade that we took. But remember at the beginning of the video, I talked about how we were looking originally to sell from these two levels of supply. We never came into the first one initially. We finally did. So we sold it from that level. It was still valid when we came into it as well. So let's go take a look at USD CAD. So we can see that we did lose the trade that we took from this demand level here, right? Did hit stop. However, we're in massive profit from here. So we lost 0.5% because we can see, let me go to the hourly. We can see half risk since it's two of them. We're in a little bit of profit here. Even if we did lose on this one, if price continues to collapse down, we are in major profit on here. The aggregate positions, meaning the sells and the buys, netted together would still be net profit. Right? So that's why hedging can be very beneficial, but you have to do it correctly. You can't just hedge whenever you want. It has to be an appropriate time to do so. But it can be quite profitable as well. So we're in really good profit on the sells and then a little bit of profit on the buys. So just looking to continue with that. So let's see, what else do we have? This is NZD JPY. We were looking for pullbacks into these two areas of demand. So with NZD JPY, we had a really great reaction this morning, right back down, just in a tad bit of drawdown right now. So kind of hovering around break even. So that was that one. GJ, that was just an update. USD CAD, that was just an update here. GBP USD, so this was the original level we talked about in Saturday's live session. So as just mentioned before, we talked about it here, had a reaction, but I didn't take the trade. What I wanted to do is get a better risk to reward, so I talked about this one here at this level of demand, right in here for buys. So from 1.191, which is our entry, all the way up. So let's go take a look at GBP USD. So GU had an amazing trade yesterday. This was the level that we talked about on Saturday's live session last Saturday, which is right there. We actually ended up creating equal lows. And what did we do when the news came out? Sell to buy. Boom. So that was our level of demand in here. And we came into it perfectly and then had a beautiful reaction. So as of right now, we are sitting about 2.5% in profit. So that's really good. All right, 2.5% there, looking for an overall 1 to 4.5. Let's see. So that was just an update with that one. That was an update. USD CAD, that was an update for that particular trade. GBP JPY had an initial reaction from that level that we talked about. ACAD, beautiful reaction as just talked about, had a beautiful trade there. as we just showed you. Euro Chef obviously lost. It was just a lower time frame trade that we talked about before, ended up pushing back down, so we talked about that one. And this is today, so this is the 1st of December. So I'm not going to go into all this stuff. However, all of these are still valid at the moment. I'll just quickly talk about it. Remember this last buy to sell? We had 3 positions. This was our first one that we're still in profit on. Remember, it did not hit our stop loss. We're in really good profit at the moment. The secondary position just missed by a few pips, and then we had the third one right in here that we're looking for pullbacks on. And then this one right in here, this is just continuations with the overall trend. Remember, we're in from AUD CAD from that level of demand, that risk to reward. We made a higher high, so what do we naturally expect? A higher low. This is our sell to buy, repricing, area of demand, higher high. So that's where we're looking to pull back into to go long from there, guys. So that was all of November's trades. I know it was a lot, but guys, my main goal here is not to go through all these trades to teach you exactly how we trade. Those are for our courses and our VIP mentorship. And, we have some really great videos on YouTube that goes into the technicals and everything. This was purely meant to just show you exactly everything that we send on a month-to-month basis, calculating all the percent return, being fully transparent with all of our wins, all of our losses, and basically everything in between. So with everything in total, we did have a lot of losses, but however, we did have a lot of wins. And calculating everything through, we did actually have more wins than losses, and our risk to rewards were phenomenal. Even with the partials that were taken, we do a really good job of trade management here as well. So in total, the 100% complete, audit total would be, let's see if I have it right here. It is, I think it's right here. There it is, 87.9% return. So a lot of that came down to, remember we talked about Euro USD that did 12.1%, USD Chef that did 10%. Then we had a few other ones that did 5.8%. I'm looking at 6.5%, 7.9%, 6.3, 8.6, 3.6. And then a lot of other ones did like 2.8, 2.5, 5.2, 3.2, 1.5, 1.4. Looking at other ones here, 0.5%, and a lot of them are other ones are partials, so 0.4, 0.3, 0.2, 0.5, and then a couple losses across the board. Obviously negative 0.5% or negative 1%. But because we use good risk management and we win more trades than we lose, and we have great risk to rewards, this is just a month's time, just 1 month, one singular month, calculating everything from the 1st to the 30th. In my calculations, now that's why I'm saying you guys can go back and calculate everything yourself as well, but I came up with, and what I found to be correct, 87.9%. That's what I got on my calculator. So I'm actually going to go check out my MT4 just because 87.9% was the total. However, remember when we were looking at, something like, I don't know, Euro GBP or Euro Chef, or excuse me, USD Chef or USD CAD. Remember those trades that hit like 12% and 10%? Obviously, we're looking at still taking partials as we go. We still have multiple take partials levels, right? Take profit levels. So obviously, as we're taking partials, we're going to be taking volume out of the market. So when we continue in the right direction, hit our overall take profit, we're not hitting that full percent return. So I would probably say, I'm actually going to go look at my MT4 account now and go to the month. I'm going to do a quick calculation, guys. Sorry about that. Going to the month from my account balance and then my profit. Let me just do a little division there. Wow, that's awesome. We did 56.3. So that's awesome. I didn't even see that. 56.3% off of all of the partials that were taken. So even if you followed partials to the T, right, you still can make money, guys. It just goes to show that you don't have to necessarily make a 1 to 20 every single time. You can go for 1 to 5s, 1 to 4s, 1 to 3s, 1 to 6s, 1 to 7s, whatever. Take partials as you go and just follow your rules. Follow the system that you know works. Follow the strategy. And even if you take partials, which is smart, I'm still netting 56.3, 53.6, one of those two numbers, out of the 87.9. Still a phenomenal return, guys. So I'm not trying to sit here and boast. I'm just trying to show you what this strategy can do, what our program can help you achieve. If you wanted to pass prop firm challenges, we are your people. We help people get to that level in which they can do that. So guys, if you are interested in learning how to build these skills and develop these skills like we have and be able to churn this kind of percent return month after month, doing it consistently, feel free to hop over to our website, arielfxtrading.com, book a free call with us. Let's just have a chat. Let's just talk. At the end of the day, it's up to you if whether or not you want to join, right? If you find through our discussion that it's not for you, then great. You can move on. I'll give you my advice. I'll give you my trading plan for free as a thank you, and then we can move on from there. And then you know that you didn't waste your money joining something that wasn't the right fit for you. But if you find that we are the right fit and want to pursue this going forward and want to know the real way on how the markets move and trade the right way and build these skills over time and take these trades that we're sending to our VIP every single solitary day to achieve 87.9% or 56.3% net, that we are definitely able to help with that. Feel free to book a call. And, we would love to extend that invitation to join our program, guys. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, as always, please let me know. I'll be happy to help in any way that I can. So have a great rest of your day, guys, and we'll talk to y'all later. Thanks so much.